Here with me to discuss is the founder of Geltrude and Company, Dan Geltrude. He's also known as America's Accountant. Dan, good to see you.
Hey, Terrance.
All right, so put into perspective what we just heard. Unemployment ticked up slightly to 4.3%. Anytime you hear of unemployment ticking up, people get a little nervous. But if you look at the bigger picture, 4.3%, it's nothing. Yeah, I guess it's something to people who are unemployed, but in the greater scheme of things, it's not really high.
No, it's not. Look, 4.3 is the highest since 2021. But again, if you look at that number, having 4.3% of unemployment isn't terrible. However, the jobs numbers are disappointing, right? Because the expectation was 75,000. You come in at 22. If we look back at June, that was revised down 13,000. Not a huge number, but still, these are indicators. Now, the Federal Reserve is supposed to be non-political and data-driven. So Jerome Powell, looking at these numbers and seeing what we're all seeing here, it seems to me that it's time for a rate cut. Now, he has been late to the party pretty consistently. I would venture to say he's a little late once again, but it is time for a rate cut. Now, whether that will be a quarter or a half point remains to be seen, but the time has come, in my opinion.
All right, so you open the door to my next question, 0.25%, over 0.5%. Who knows what it ultimately will be? What do you think would be prudent? I would think most experts would say, let's just err on the side of caution and go lower. But is this a time to be maybe a bit more aggressive, particularly given the fact that it's been so long since the last rate cut?
Well, I don't know how much it actually matters in the grand scheme of things, because what this should be doing, starting a trend. So if he starts at a quarter, which I think is most likely, but even if he goes to a half point, it's all about the messaging. And the messaging is, what direction are we headed in? And I think we are indicating that we are going to an economic slowdown. Now, the way that the Fed could push that along is to lower interest rates. Why? Because when you lower interest rates, you make borrowing cheaper, which allows people access to capital, right, to money that's loaned to them, to be able to invest it in businesses or to buy a home, all those kinds of things. So it means a lot economically as to where we're trending as far as interest rates go.
How unique of a time are we in? And I ask that in the context of, all right, unemployment ticked up just a little bit. There wasn't a whole lot of job creation in August. Yet I think if you ask most Americans, they'll say, yeah, the economy is pretty healthy right now, and even the GDP is pretty strong.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that our economy is in trouble. I know some people are already prematurely, I think, throwing around the R word, recession. I don't think that we're anywhere near that point. What I really believe this is about, Terrance, is getting out in front of what may very well be a trend of a slowing economy. So if we could head that off by starting to lower interest rates, we could stabilize quite quickly, and then from there really go to getting the economy really back on a strong growth path.
Well, a great way to get any individual's personal economic ambitions back on track is to win the Powerball jackpot. Right now, that jackpot is up to about $1.7 billion. I suspect that, like me, you have friends who are going out and buying $20, $30 worth of tickets in hopes of becoming the next billionaire. You say, while it sounds good, there should be some words of caution, or you're offering words of caution to anyone who might win.
Well, I'm going to offer two words here. First of all, you use the term, you're thinking you're going to be a billionaire. I hate to break the news to you. Even if you're the only winner of $1.7 billion, you're not going to be a billionaire. Yeah. Why? Because if you take the lump sum payment, you're only going to get $770 million. And then when you factor in taxes, and let's say federal, and I'm in New Jersey, so I'm going to factor in state taxes as well, I'm going to say you're going to end up with a mere $400 million. So you're not going to be a billionaire on this transaction. That's point one. Now, having $400 million, not such a bad deal. However, here's the real caution. 70% of lottery winners actually go broke. Can you imagine that? And they go broke quickly, within 3 to 5 years, declaring bankruptcy. Why does that happen? Well, it becomes the inflation of their spending. You have all this money and people start spending wildly. And even maybe a conservative guy like me or you, Terrance, getting that kind of money, it's really easy to just say, hey, I'm going to buy a lot of stuff that I really don't need.
See, and I'm not just conservative, I'm outright cheap. I'm a fiscal conservative to everyone else, but I'm outright cheap, my friend, so I'm not spending any of my money. But I get it. You know, the reality is sometimes when you have something that you've never had before, you just act irresponsibly. That's, I guess one could call it human nature.
Of course. And listen, having that kind of money and being able to buy all kinds of things really becomes like an addiction. It's like drugs. You can't get enough, and you just keep buying and buying and spending because you want to know something, Terrance? I know you have a lot of friends, but you're going to have a lot more friends after you win this thing, right? So what are they going to do? Hey, I got a great investment, or can you lend me money? And we should do this and that. And the next thing you know, money is just going out and going out. And unless you have the right advisors around you, if you win this thing, the first thing you need to do is put your team together. That's your lawyer, your CPA, and your financial planner. You should not do anything until that team is in place and they can give you sound financial advice, which, of course, you need to listen to.
Absolutely. Make sure they're not trying to charge you out the nose for their services either. Dan, good to talk to you, my friend. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend.
You too, Terrance.